Hello, gorgeous. Welcome to HG Radio, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous. You are listening to Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. I'm your host, Kim Becker, once a hairdresser and a salon owner, now the founder of a nonprofit organization that coaches and trains women with cancer to help them smile when they look in the mirror. And if I had to tell you, I have the best job in the whole world. This episode is brought to you by Amplified Marketing Group. They specialize in affordable mobile solutions that will get you noticed and help you retain customers. Check them out at www.amplified.marketing. Our guest today is Jodi Heim. Jodi is the owner of the 3-in-1 Company, a public speaker, funeral celebrant, and beauty business expert. Her multifaceted background combines experience in education, the beauty business, and a motivational ministry. Jodi has a degree from Metropolitan State in Individualized Studies and Cosmetology and Advanced Osteology from Minnesota State Southeast. Jodi has never fit into a mold. Rather, she makes her own and continues to evolve, fusing her varied backgrounds. The beauty industry has allowed Jodi to expand on her business experience, being a salon and spa owner for 17 years and working with an international hair color company, traveling and teaching fellow stylists across the country. The beauty business has been and continues to be an output for her creative energy and craving for personal connections. Her years in education have shown her that prior to education, you must first encourage the student to believe in themselves. Jodi has had a call to ministry that has been in her heart since a young girl. After the loss of her son and continued loss of family and friends through death, the call became stronger. Becoming a funeral celebrant is an answer to that call. Combining this eclectic background, Jodi knew that there was something more that she was molded for. 3-in-1 came about through Jodi's experience in speaking. She begins each event with the statement, "My intent is to offer inspiration, motivation, and speak in a bit of education," hence the name 3-in-1. A girl that is strong in her faith, she combines her knowledge and beliefs and shares stories from her heart. Through their experiences, Jodi was designed to empower others and help them find their inner resilience and beauty. She is an engaging and entertaining speaker and storyteller. She shares a message of hope that pulls the listener out of themselves and back into life. Jodi looks forward to continued success in inspiring and leading others to living their greatness. Hi, Jodi, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you are here.
I'm excited too. A little bit nervous, and especially after listening to that intro. You know, it's one thing to see it on paper, but it's another thing to hear it. So thank you.
I know I feel the same way sometimes. I'm like, really? I do all of that? That's awesome.
Right.
She's amazing. Yeah. I need to meet her.
That's right.
So you and I met a long time ago. So I'd love for you to share the story with our listeners, how you and I actually came to meet.
Yeah. So our initial meeting, I actually ran into Mike first. So I was at a conference in Chicago in a huge room, and Mike and I locked eyes from across the room, and he yelled, "Hello, gorgeous," and I came walking. So he drew me in with his charismatic personality, and through him, I met you and learned what Hello Gorgeous, what your organization was all about, and I knew that I needed to be a part of it. When it comes to cancer, we've had a lot of cancer in my family, and so it touches my heart. I've also lost 2 very dear friends to cancer as well. And so being in the beauty industry, you know, I was already serving women that were battling cancer and helping them to feel pretty and work through the things that happen to their physical appearance when they're struggling with cancer. So I just knew that you and I were soul sisters from the very beginning.
I know, it's so funny. I always tease you all the time. I'm like, I wish you lived next door and not 5 states away.
I know.
Awesome. Well, and and one of my favorite memories, and I've shared this with you before, but we had to go when Mike was so sick and they were trying to figure out what was going on. We had to go to Mayo Clinic, and your salon was not far from Mayo Clinic in Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
and so we didn't tell you we were coming.
Right.
And you had this beautiful big window in your salon, and we literally just pulled up and your station was there. Thank goodness you were there, because I had no idea what your hours were. And so your back was towards the window. I'll never forget. And I can't remember whether I knocked on the window or whether you just caught a glance of me in your mirror, and your face was priceless that night. So
Oh my
I
God.
loved it. That was that was one of my favorite memories. But yes, I feel like we are soul sisters and have been for a long time. So thank you. I'm grateful that you joining me today, and that you're sharing this new journey. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit, because we're connected in the beauty industry. So tell me a little bit about your experience in the beauty industry.
Great. Yeah. So I've been in the beauty industry for going on 30 years already. And I've worked in many different facets of the industry. So I've worked behind the chair in salon and spas. I owned my own salon and spa for 17 years. But while I was doing that, I was also involved in education. And so I traveled and taught for an international hair color company. And I loved that I could combine my passion with empowering others, as well as working behind the chair and being a business owner. And then after I had been in the salon for, I believe it was about 13, 14 years. And I, people in the industry locally knew who I was because I was involved in education and speaking. And I was approached by the school wanting to know if I'd be interested in teaching. And I was very busy and wasn't necessarily looking for a new position. And I was pregnant with my fourth child at the time. But I went and interviewed, and it came down to two of us remaining in the interview process. And when it came down to it, actually, the other individual was offered the position. And I have to say, I was a little disheartened, even though I wasn't really looking for something new at the time and had a staff and a salon to take care of and a business of my own. Not to mention the fact that I was having my fourth child. So it wasn't though just a few months down the road that I received another call asking if I were still interested in teaching. And honestly, I just remember exactly where I was when I went for a walk and was thinking about it and weighing things out as to whether or not I should take this position, and felt really strongly that it was the dress rehearsal for what was next in my life. And so I took that leap of faith and was the director of a cosmetology program for the past 12 years. And now I'm behind the chair again, which is super fun.
Well, and there's something about, and I know, I've come up and we brought the bus and I was able to speak to the group of students, and I can see why you love that environment so much. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to be able to go in and talk to beauty school students, because I always say, I hope that I can inspire them, because I was right where they were. Like, I was sitting in those same seats, and I had to, learn the finger waves and the pin curls and all of those things. But what I love about what the hairdressing world does is just what you said. Like, it can be a foundation for so many things. And that's what I really try and impress on any beauty school student that I have a chance to talk to. And that is that, look, it'd be great if you stood behind the chair. That's awesome. We need a lot of really good hairdressers out there. But if you don't want to stand behind the chair, there's so much to do in the beauty industry. So it was so right for you to take that leap of faith, because it truly is. It was the foundation. I mean, it truly was it's just the beginning point, but so much can build on top of that, which I think is incredible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so you, like me then, like, I wasn't happy just being behind the chair. Like, I always wanted to do more. So I did the same thing. I was an educator for an Italian color line, but loved the opportunity to be able to go into salons and teach them, all the latest trends. Plus, I, as a hairdresser standing behind the chair, I learned all those trends before anybody else, because I had to teach them. So tell me a little bit about what caused you to move from the salon industry, like, into the education, because that's not normal. It's not really normal that you do that into the education part of it. So what drove you to do that?
So anybody who knows me knows that when I do something, I do it 110%. And when I first got into the beauty industry, graduated from cosmetology school, I immediately became what I call a hair show groupie. I would just show up at hair shows and I would talk to the distributors and I would say, if you need help with anything, I'd be happy to help backstage or sell tickets. I just wanted to be a part of that atmosphere. And it got to a point not too much after that they started to call me and say, hey, Jodi, we're going to be in town or we're going to be here. Would you want to come hang out with us? And that's really where it started. And then the job offers started falling in. And I'm a firm believer in all areas of life that, you put yourself in situations and you dress for the part. And that's what I was doing somewhat unintentionally. I really just wanted to learn and be a sponge. But I put myself in a position where I was getting all of this knowledge firsthand. And there's so many more mistakes that are made behind the scenes than you actually see presented. And that's where I was just soaking up all of this content. And then through that, was offered a position teaching for a hair color company, like I said, and I traveled and taught for them for 13 years along with owning the salon. And also, I stepping out on my own, and you've done this, Kim, when you own your own salon, you want to know those products like the back of your hand. Mm-hmm. You're the catch-all, right? You don't have somebody to go to if something doesn't work quite right. So I needed that for security and a solid foundation of knowledge so that, if there was something that didn't go quite right, I could, be the solution on my own because there wasn't anyone else to go to. So I did that for years. And so all of that kind of happened. I taught for that color company, and I actually resigned that position when I was pregnant with my fourth child because, I would still working behind the chair and in the salon, and then on the weekends was traveling. And so, having another baby and a busy life at home, it was time to step back from that position. And, it's funny how when one thing moves out of your life, it opens up space for something new. And within that same year was when that job opportunity as a director of the cosmetology program came up a couple of times. And in fact, it wasn't a director out of the gate. I want to be sure to be clear. I taught there for years before I became the director. So I didn't step right into that position. But I believe that, that there's a plan for our life, and removing that traveling and being so busy opened up a space for a new opportunity. And, that just took me to a whole nother level where I was not just presenting the content, but I was creating the content as well. So more tools in your toolbox, if you will.
Well, and it was the natural progression for you, right? So that you had the experience behind the chair, and then you were able to go and become the educator and then educate other people who would then go back to stand behind the chair. So the next jump then, which, because I don't know how this connection would be made, but then you became a funeral celebrant, which I admire you for that, because there are people that want to avoid funerals like the plague, and you look for them. So tell me how that all came about. Like, how did you feel called to do that?
Yeah. Right. It's entirely unrelated. But I think the piece that is related is that it's still relationship based. So in the beauty industry, it's all about making people feel good or feel better. And I think that was, that's a part of being a funeral celebrant, as well as being there in this traumatic and crucial time period in the family's life. My husband and I lost a son when he was just a few months old to SIDS. And when that happened for us, I mean, like anyone who has a loss like that, and Kim, you can speak to that with losing Mike. I mean, it's a turning point in your life.
Yes.
It changes who you are, and there's no way around that. You're an entirely different person when something like that happens. And unfortunately for us, that was the first of many. We lost my brother-in-law to a traumatic accident, my nephew in a traumatic accident, and it through that built this relationship with the local funeral home. And then also, if there was a young person that would pass, or there was a traumatic loss in our community, the funeral home would call me to come in and do their hair and makeup. So I built this relationship, and they asked if I'd be interested in being a funeral celebrant. And to be honest, I didn't even know what it was. I've been involved in ministry. I would speak at church or fill in when our pastor was gone and share a message. And it just kind of evolved. It just all of a sudden